What's up, it's Marco, Sage of Soccer, and today I want to talk about the U.S. men's national team sporting director search. Ernie Stewart recently left the position, and there's an opening there that has not been filled yet. Apparently, it's not from lack of trying either. There have been numerous reports of people turning down the job, from Ernest Tanner to different guys around the MLS. Recently, Oguchi Onyewu has been rumored to be interested in the job, and I want to talk about the position and what I think could be the best outcome for the U.S. men's national team sporting director job. Sporting directors are very important in the modern game. When you look around the world at clubs, they'll often have a position called a director of football that's a very similar position. And these guys work with managers because when you look at managers, they're going to be working with their team day to day. Things like training, tactics, just managing the squad, and their focus is going to be pretty squarely on that. Meanwhile, you'll have the sporting director, director of football, who's focusing on recruiting and bringing players in and out of the club. This can be through scouting, analytics, maybe working with the academy, and he's working on getting the players to the manager. While the manager, he's going to be working with the players. And it is easy to see how crucial that can be because you want the manager to be with the team as much as possible. You don't want the manager off going to somewhere in France to scout the next Conte. You want the manager working with the players that he already has. And I think this is a very crucial position for clubs in today's game. But on an international level, that's a different story because the manager isn't going to be with the team as much. In fact, the manager is more often away from the team than with it. And when you look around at the job the sporting director has to do, it's a lot more simple. You're not scouting the entire world, you're scouting a fixed player pool that you really don't have to do much search into. I mean, if there's a really good player somewhere out there, a good club's going to be the one finding them. And on top of that, there's no work with the academy. Players are developed at the clubs. A lot of times, the style of play should be tailored around the players that you have instead of tailoring your players to the style of play. And analytics is definitely important, but it's certainly not that crucial or that huge of a deal for the team. And it makes you wonder how much this position actually does. What the US wants to do is have the sporting director help find the next manager. So right now, we're employing the firm Sportsology to help look for this next sporting director. So we're using Sportsology to find a sporting director to find a manager. This kind of reeks of bureaucracy. I don't know why we couldn't just use this firm to find the manager instead of looking for a firm to look for a sporting director to look for a manager. It just seems like a lot of extra steps that makes me wonder if the sporting director themselves will actually have any power in choosing the manager. Now, I obviously understand the need for a manager to have help. He can't do everything on their own. I mean, you have to look at everything manager has to do, traveling around Europe to meet with players, all the scouting that does need to be done. Help is obviously necessary. And if we could get one of the biggest names in the game to come to the US and help things run smoothly, like that would be amazing. I'd love to have just another great mind of soccer in this room. But when you look at the position and what they have to do, this isn't like a director of football managing transfers for a huge club. This is just, being there and being another guy to approve the signing of a manager that's probably already been determined. So I'm not saying it's that big of a deal. It's just we'll have a sporting director who I'm not sure if they'll end up doing that much. And honestly, I wouldn't be mad at Wu getting the job because he seems to be doing very well outside of the game. And if we want to have somebody there who's mostly for marketing or mostly for just non-soccer related things, I honestly think that's fine, especially because he doesn't appear to be a part of that in group, I guess, that was involved with this team before. But again, ideally, we could bring in somebody who's just a huge name in the world of the sport, who really knows everything about it and could really help us out. But if we don't get that, like, I don't really think it's that big of a deal to just have any random person in this role because I don't think it's that important. So we're going to have a new sporting director. I'm just hoping we can get it done quickly so we can actually move on to appointing the manager because I think that's the real story about this. And I think who is appointed sporting director will tell us a bit about who will be appointed manager. So hopefully it'll be good news. But for the sporting director position itself, I'm not too invested. I just look around the world to see if other teams have somebody in this position. And apparently France has a sporting director. Every article about him is in French, and translating them doesn't seem like he does too much. So, like, again, I'm not too sure it's that big of a deal, but hopefully we'll get some positive news from it, and hopefully a hire will be somebody who will indicate that the manager will be a good hire. So, I guess it's worth it to keep track of, but again, I don't think this position will end up being that important for the U.S. moving forward. And yes, my thoughts on it. That's all I'll talk about. See ya.